When cosmic seeker Andrew Cohen began his teaching career, he was focused on the enlightenment of the individual. He now studies a new form and expression of spiritual liberation called Evolutionary Enlightenment. It gives new meaning to who we are and why we are here. And have you really figured out why we are here, or why you are here, or who you really are?
Well, I think I have a sense of it. And I think when our identity shifts, when we awaken to evolution, when we awaken to an evolutionary worldview, it becomes apparent to us that who we really are, who we all are, who you are, who I am, is actually the creative principle in the universe, the energy and intelligence that created the universe and is creating the universe in the form of the body, mind, personality of myself and the body, mind, personality of yourself. The body, the mind, and the personality are sheaths or layers through which this creative drive in the universe awakens to itself and begins to consciously engage with itself.
Okay, so could you say consciousness is the creator, my consciousness is the creator, hence I am the creator?
Well, depending on the degree to which we are conscious of the creative principle itself. In other words, if evolution is an idea that has been taught to us, when we were just speaking in the break, you mentioned, Darwin made it clear that evolution is compelling biological life to evolve.
Right.
The great German philosopher Hegel was making it clear that human history is part of an evolutionary developmental process. Cosmologists in the 20th century made it clear that the cosmos, the universe, is also part of a developmental process. But now we're also realizing that our own interiors, our own capacity for consciousness and cognition, thought, reflection, deep interiority, has also been produced by and part of this developmental process and is evolving along with all these other dimensions of reality.
If someone's watching this and they want to experience evolutionary enlightenment, where do you start? What are the tenets?
Well, these 5 principles are really the foundation of how we actually live a deeper life. So the first one is wanting to change in a deep and profound way, really wanting to change in a way that's significant and big.
So right? Develop, become, evolve.
It means not just get a little better, it means experience a profound and radical transformation, awaken to a much different perspective of what it means to be ourselves.
Well, I know Wayne Dyer wrote recently about intention.
Yeah.
And I know one of your tenets, first one, is clarity of intention.
Well, that's what changed my life. I mean, when I was a young person, I was kind of miserable, unhappy, and when I was 22, I just got sick of it, and I made up my mind I wanted to be free. I wanted to be a free, happy, liberated person, and that's really what changed my life. I made a deep decision that I was going to do whatever I had to do to change, and I wasn't going to compromise. And so, because that worked for me, that's what I tell everybody. Everybody says, "How do you do it? Is there some technique or some method?" I said, "No. Methods and techniques are only as powerful as the intention of the individual who's using them."
Okay, and you went to India and you sat on a cushion, I'm sure, and meditated and smelled incense and did all of that.
I did a lot of it, yes.
And?
I did a lot of those things, and I eventually made a great spiritual teacher, a great spiritual master, H.W.L. Punja, who's no longer with us, who, when I met him, that meeting really changed my life, and I really found everything I was looking for.
So number 2, the second tenet, take responsibility for all of our stuff?
Well,
essence?
Well, it says if we want to be a truly liberated, free human being, it means we have to take responsibility for anything and everything that's ever happened to us and everything and anything we've ever done to others, right?
Right.
We have to really take the burden of our own karma, of our own history on our own shoulders and stop blaming life and stop blaming other people.
Right. I'm not a victim.
Exactly.
I created this. Guess what?
Coming to the end of being a victim, no matter whether we've been victimized or not.
Okay. All the bumps and the lumps and whatever, for some reason.
Right. It's our problem. It's nobody else's problem.
Okay, so face everything and avoid nothing. That's number 3.
Well, that's really one of the most challenging ones, and that's, I think, the highest form of spiritual practice is to be so undefended and to be so present and so awake and so aware that we really are facing and coming to terms with everything that's happening inside us and outside of us, and we stop the habit and the practice of consistent denial.
So it's the poor me, or if I was born in a different house, I wouldn't be like this, or if that didn't happen to me.
Well, facing everything
or is it deeper than that?
Well, facing everything and avoid nothing. It's the cultivation of a capacity to pay deep attention to what's going on. So we're not avoiding everything. If we don't avoid things, if we face things directly in the present moment, we don't accumulate, what's called shadows. Because we're coming to terms with reality in our own experience in every moment. So we're not accumulating problems that we're going to have to deal with in the future.
Well, Ram Dass many years ago said, be here now.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? When you're brushing your teeth, be brushing your teeth. Don't be thinking about your day and whether or not you have to get the snow tires on. Just be present.
Well, what I'm talking about means being present, but also means facing reality as it is, and a lot of things we have to face are make us uncomfortable.
Sure.
Some things are frightening or confusing.
Very much.
And it means having the courage to face into that which we're afraid of and confused by, and with the effort to come to terms with it.
Well, it'd be great if we could just chuckle at it all, wouldn't it?
Well, I think when we stop avoiding so habitually and start facing it more directly into life, we do start experiencing a liberating joy.
I agree. I own this.
Yes.
Yes, very much. The process perspective is number 4, which means?
Well, the process perspective is what we've been speaking about quite a bit so far together this morning, and that the process perspective is realizing that cosmic evolution began 14 billion years ago. Cosmic evolution gave rise to biological evolution, that was the emergence of life in the universe, and life eventually gave rise to mind and culture and consciousness, and we realized that cosmic evolution, biological evolution, cultural evolution, the emergence of mind and consciousness is all part of one process. And so we realized that, as we've been saying, we are, you are, and I am a product of this one process. My human experience, my life experience has been produced by the evolutionary process as a whole. So we begin to see life through the perspective of recognizing we're all part of a process that's going somewhere.
So if you wanted a solution to the postmodern predicament of narcissism and self-importance, greed, breakdown on Wall Street,
Yeah.
what is it?
Well,
like the cosmic step, the next step.
It's a shift of identity, because as I mentioned before, if you realize that I'm not merely who I thought I was, but I am the singular creator, the energy and intelligence that created the universe, awakening to itself, becoming aware of itself in the form of, in this form, this body, this mind, this personality of myself, you realize that who you are is quite extraordinary, and knowing that, we experience a sense of a spiritual and evolutionary empowerment, and we experience a sense of inspiration. We really want to begin to roll up our sleeves and do what we can do to make the world a better place.
And where does the ego fit in all of this?
Hopefully in the back seat.
Right, because you have to move to get here, you have to move the ego aside.
Well, remember, I keep saying we're talking about a shift of identity. So the shift of identity here is a shift from the ego. All right, I am the small self, the ego and personality, to I am this creative force in the universe that's awakening to itself through the body, mind, personality of myself.
Which means God must evolve through me, or there is a God, or there isn't a God, or should we care, or
well,
what?
It's just a word. If God is the creative process as a whole, if that would be a reasonable way to think about it, then as I begin to awaken to that process directly and experience the thrill of it, because evolution is not an idea, it's also what's driving us, and human beings can actually experience the truth of that.
And if we don't have a sense of otherness, if we all just relate, if we all just come together at some level.
Well, that's easier said than done. I mean, for us to come together, we have to share the same values, the same ideas, the same beliefs, and that's why I think this evolutionary orientation to life is so compelling, because it makes it possible for people who embrace a scientific worldview, right, to be able to come together in kind of this big idea. And the big idea of evolution, as I keep saying, is that the process is a one. It's a singularity. It's a creative singularity that's going somewhere. And when we realize I am part of that creative singularity, and so are you, we can find a place of mutuality in there that can change the way we relate to each other. And
choice, of course, because there's a person who decides to be a terrorist, and there's a person who decides to be a missionary.
Yes.
Well,
I think that if a terrorist woke up to evolution, he or she might stop being a terrorist.
So
Probably would.
Well, yes, I'm sure, because the higher we.
Yes.
There is a higher we.
Yes.
You talk about it in here. It's fascinating. So that you shift from being to becoming.
Yes, good, exactly.
And the culture has to do that too. Our
Yes.
culture has to do that.
Right.
We know our culture is doing that.
Well, and again,
hope.
well,
It's moving.
How culture changes, how culture always changes, is that people at the very leading edge, revolutionaries and intellectuals and radical individuals begin to explore new ideas together, and those ideas spark. And for example, the Cultural Revolution that happened in the 60s, which exploded, and we're all still feeling the very powerful and uplifting consequences of that, was really bubbling for about 200 years before it exploded. So some of these ideas, these ideas about evolution and this process perspective, I think slowly and gradually are going to begin to influence the way many, many people think about what it means to be human.
Very much so. And things change when there's friction. Always have.
Well, there's positive friction and negative friction.
Yes,
so
true.
The positive friction gives rise to new ideas and new potentials and new possibilities. Negative creative friction is destructive.
Thanks for making us think.
Thank you so much.
A little bit more.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure. Andrew Cohen, Evolutionary Enlightenment is his new book, A New Path to Spiritual Awakening. Andrew Cohen made me believe that there has never been a better time to be enlightened, said Deepak Chopra. And remember, you can join me on Twitter at Fanny Kiefer or catch our conversations on YouTube. There'll be many more enlightened and provocative guests to come. Till then, thanks for watching Shaw TV and being with me today.